Growing up is tough. Growing up on reality TV, well, that is a whole different story. And I asked some kids who grew up on your favorite shows like Jon Kate Plus 8, the Real Housewives, Sister Wives, 90 Day Fiancé, what that is like for Teen Vogue. So let's get into it. Because in their worlds, childhood wasn't just shared with their family, it was shared with the world. So for Hannah Goselin, who is now 21, the cameras were always there, literally. The cameraman actually lived in an apartment above the family's garage, and Hannah and her 7 siblings, which were made up of a set of sextuplets and a set of twins, they just had the cameras around their entire lives. They were stars before they could talk. Hannah told me that they didn't realize that it was strange to be followed by cameras until they started going to school. They went to the bus stop and the paparazzi were there and everyone was like, what are these people doing here? And Hannah was like, oh, I guess this isn't normal. Hannah told me that the crew was a constant in her life. They were there in the mornings while the kids were getting ready for school. They were there until bedtime. So eventually Hannah and her siblings came up with some tricks to avoid getting filmed. So because of copyright laws, they weren't allowed to say like brand names on TV. So if they wanted to say something and not have it be recorded, some of the other siblings would say something like Target, 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 or like Walmart, Walmart, Walmart. And then the other kids would be talking like behind the scenes. So then the crew couldn't use that footage, which I thought was so funny. I also talked to Gwendolyn Brown from Sister Wives. So they started filming when Gwendolyn was 8 years old, and she says that she loved it. She and her siblings fought for the camera's attention. She said that the crew felt like family. When she went to school, she kind of like flexed on the other kids that she was a reality TV star. And the show even lifted them out of poverty. So she said things are a lot easier for a kid that's not going hungry. And of course, Sister Wives is about a polygamist family. So there were a lot of kids. I think there were maybe around 18 kids. So it was a lot to take care of. But the line between public and private really blurred fast. So Gwendolyn told me about this one time that she got into a fight with one of the moms, or she got into a disagreement with one of the moms, and she went outside and just kind of like, just like got so frustrated and kind of like let out a little scream, and then she noticed that a camera was pointed right at her. That moment didn't air, but many others did. And she says that it's kind of nice to be able to watch like old footage, but it's also just like strange. Like she says, it was my normal, but I know now it doesn't have to be. Aspen and Anniko Bullock, the daughters of 90 Day Fiancé star Darcy Silva, they made their debut on reality TV when they were around 10 and 12. They had some pretty awkward moments on TV, like their mom giving them a sex talk on camera, and that aired. They said it was weird, but that viewers like that kind of stuff. They do like to look back on the footage, but they also worry, like when people come into their lives, like are they there for the girls or are they there for reality TV fame? Then there's Noelle Robinson, the daughter of Real Housewives of Atlanta star Cynthia Bailey, and Noelle was 8 when filming began. Milestones like her 16th birthday and moving into college were filmed, but it kind of felt more like a performance and less like life was just happening. She says she wasn't able to just have fun and relax, and she thinks that the camera changed the way that some things unfolded. Like she didn't stay in college, and she says that maybe if she had gone without the camera, she would have had like a better chance at like figuring out if that was right for her. Noelle did tell me that coming out as sexually fluid on camera was really meaningful to her and for LGBTQ teens and parents across the country, but she does think about how the choice to be on TV wasn't hers, it was her mother's choice that was made for Noelle. I also talked to Brooks Marks, who was 19 when his mom, Meredith Marks, joined the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but it was still like a really intense experience for him. Viewers speculated about his sexuality, and Brooks said that it felt like he didn't have control over his own story. He said that sometimes he would go out after the show had aired and he would be looking around and kind of wondering like, are these people that are looking at me, are they like the faceless trolls who are like sending me hate messages? And that was really striking to me, like how strange that must have been to be out in the world and like wondering what your trolls are doing or where they are. Brooks was able to launch his fashion brand, which he says was helpful to be on the show for that. And despite the anxiety and the emotional toll, he is actually filming a kind of next generation reality stars show about young people. Something really interesting is that the laws that protect child actors do not protect reality TV kids. So they are largely unprotected. And some of them weren't even paid directly. So the child labor laws in Pennsylvania were actually changed because of the Goselin kids being on TV. They were given legal and financial protections that were for child actors and reality stars, and that left Hannah Goselin with enough money to pay for about half of her college education. But in return, she and her family members have become tabloid fixtures, with even the most innocuous of sibling hangouts making headlines. So you kind of wonder, like, was that enough money to like make it worth it? I mean, she only got to pay for half of her college. So the lack of legal protections really leaves reality TV kids vulnerable in this vulnerable position where it's often up to their parents to choose to pay them for their labor. So Gwendolyn Brown, who was on TLC's Sister Wives, told me that the network only paid the parents. She said, "I'm not sure if they did or didn't expect the parents to pay us kids, but we weren't paid." So in later years, Gwendolyn said that her mom decided to pay the kids a certain amount per day or half day of camera time. She says she's not sure exactly how much she made, but it certainly wasn't a fair share. I did reach out to TLC, and a spokesperson from TLC said the network doesn't discuss specific talent agreements, but that compensation is handled in accordance with contractual commitments and applicable labor laws and regulations. Christine Brown, Gwendolyn's mother, did confirm that the children were not paid for their filming directly at first, but she says that they did put aside money for college and vehicle funds. Noelle Robinson told me that she wasn't paid at all for spending her childhood and adolescence on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and when I asked her if she thinks she should have been, she said, I don't know. And her mom was listening in on the call, and representatives for Bravo confirmed that Robinson was not paid. So they didn't choose the spotlight, not at first, right? But what I found really interesting is that each of these reality TV kids told me that they would do it all over again. They would sacrifice their privacy for the experience of being a reality star. Each of them said that the experience and the opportunity has been worth the pitfalls. So if you're interested in this story, I will link the full story in the description of this video. And if you're interested in stories like this about reality TV kids, child actors, influencer kids, make sure to follow and subscribe and hit the notification button so you hear when my next video comes out, because I have all the details on all of this.